Ladies and gentlemen, we are live from the campus, Arizona State University, on Blaze Radio. And now, it's time! Here's Weston DeWitt!
Aha! Yes! Welcome to the latest edition of the Weston DeWitt Show with Eliav Gabay here on Blaze Radio and streaming live on BlazeRadioOnline.com. It is September 25th, 2017, live in the Bill Austin Radio Studios here in downtown Phoenix. We thank you for starting your Monday here on a high note with us. Eliav, how are you doing today, man? You doing good?
Yeah, this weekend was crazy. Sports, politics, exciting games. I mean, there's a lot. There's really a lot, and more than usual. And let's open it up. I mean, this is nuts.
This is crazy. We got so much to talk about. Real quick, Seth Askelson is in the house today. Sports update man. Harley, you're out. Social media king is in the house as well. So much to get into. Obviously, there's a lot of football to discuss as it pertains to the actual playing because the Cardinals play the Cowboys tonight on Monday Night Football. We're going to preview that. Arizona State upset Oregon.
What?
Yeah, that was a heck of a game, well-played game by Arizona State. Carmelo Anthony is now in Oklahoma City Thunder, and he has joined a Big Three, so we're going to talk about that.
Official this morning.
As of this morning, that is correct. The Sparks took Game 1.
Yes, dramatics.
Absolutely. The Diamondbacks clinched a playoff berth.
We didn't see that coming.
The Tigers let go of Brad Ausmus. We got so much to discuss, and like I said, we will get into the actual playing games that took place yesterday, but I think we'd be a little naive to avoid what is going on right now, especially in the world of politics and sports that have now intertwined very closely together. And it pertains to the President Donald Trump. What happened this weekend, Eliav?
All right, so a few things happened. Donald Trump clashed with the NFL and NBA this weekend and this past week. Really last 72 hours have just been pretty crazy. But I'll just before we actually play a bunch of the sound bites, I'm going to preface this by saying anyone who says stick to sports is ridiculous. And this weekend is no better example because there's no such thing as sticking to sports. There is a world we live in which sports is part of life.
Yeah.
And life outside of the actual game. And we've seen that this weekend be brought to the forefront more than ever, or at least in our lives, for sure.
I completely agree with you, Eliav. And listen, you and I are sports fans. Harley, Seth, we're all sports fans here. And our desire when we turn on the television sets or watch a game is to hear about sports. And I don't think we're wrong in thinking that. Any sports fan generally who feels that way is absolutely right to feel that way.
Sure, it's also a getaway. Yeah.
And it's an escape route. For years, sports has been a platform in our country, in our world, where people go to escape, where we can sit on the couch with our friends, discuss the world of sports in a fun way. And now, with the way that the president has been speaking, as we'll hear in a few minutes, about the NFL and the NBA, and Steph Curry having his White House invitation declined, and the way he tweets, almost like a teenage girl almost sometimes. It's despicable sometimes.
Well, I just say, just political thoughts aside, I would say that the fact is sports in the past and now, I don't think, as much as it's also a getaway, there's no separation between sports and life when we've seen what happened this weekend. And I'm going to play right now what Trump originally said about the NFL and what he thinks about not only people kneeling for the flag, or during the national anthem, but also what he thinks when people get flags when there's big concussion or big hits that may lead to a concussion.
Yeah, and he definitely had a lot to say. But here's President Trump over the weekend with everything that Eliav discussed. Take it away, Eliav.
Wouldn't you love to see one of these NFL owners when somebody disrespects our flag, to say, get that son of a bitch off the field right now, out, he's fired. He's fired! Today, if you hit too hard, right, they hit too hard, 15 yards, throw him out of the game. They had that last week. I watched for a couple of minutes, and two guys just really beautiful tackle. Boom, 15 yards. The referee gets on television. His wife is sitting at home. She's so proud of him. They're ruining the game.
They're ruining the game.
Wow.
They're ruining the game, Weston. Okay, so
apparently,
let's do our best to put the political thoughts aside, because it's really easy, since we are naturally biased, since we are sports media, since we like you said, are sports fans. Naturally, it's tough to put that aside when you're talking about this. But at the end of the day, I mean, when you call your own citizens SOBs, like for any reason, really, I mean that's just, it's too much in its own right.
Listen.
You know, that's too much in its own right. Whatever you feel, that's too much. And then on top of that, to say they're ruining the game for penalizing big hits, or like, have you not paid attention to what's been going on in this league?
No.
These head injuries, these non-joking CTE problems that we've seen, the older players are now killing themselves at times because of these problems, and such a consistent issue that they've been working on.
Yeah, and before we play the sound from Steph Curry, because Steph Curry is also involved in this, because the president did tweet to Steph Curry, and Harley will read that tweet here in just a second, but I want to really quick respond to what you said, Eliav. Like, we talked about sticking to sports, and the president of the United States, in a sense, he's not supposed to be sensitive. He's supposed to be courageous. That's what a president, his responsibility is to be. And the sensitivity that he's displaying, especially when it comes to Twitter and responding to people on Twitter by saying Steph Curry's not invited, and the sensitivity, that's not how a president is supposed to carry himself. We elected him. This nation elected him. And I was of the mindset we were the ones who were going to have the strongest impact of making change in this world. And I think we've done our part. We've seen non-violent protests. Isn't that what Dr. Martin Luther King emphasized, Eliav?
Yeah.
That's exactly what we've been doing. Colin Kaepernick just took a knee for the national anthem. He did not incite any violence. Yes, we have seen violence. Charlottesville, for example, we have seen examples of that, and that we all know that is wrong. But at the end of the day, Eliav, Harley, Seth, it's just there's so many other issues, in my opinion, going on in this world. For example, North Korea, there's a situation there. We got earthquakes.
Well, there's just so much worse. Yeah,
and it's been
natural
so much worse.
Disasters.
Exactly.
This is a time for us to be able to come together.
Yes, and
this is a time for us as a the opposite is happening.
No, exactly, and completely agree with you, Eliav. That's the way it goes.
It's almost like he's forgetting the fundamental right.
Right.
You know, which is frustrating in its own right. But all right, so let's get to the Curry soundbite now. Steph Curry explaining what he thinks of the situation, and if he even wants to go to the White House for the for the annual championship visit.
Yes, he definitely had a lot to say. So play that soundbite from Steph Curry, Eliav.
I don't think I don't want to go. That's really it. We don't stand for basically what our president has, the things that he said and the things that he hasn't said in the right times, that we won't stand for it. And by acting and not going, hopefully that will inspire some change when it comes to what we tolerate in this country and what is accepted and what we turn a blind eye to.
All right, Harley, can we get that tweet from Mr. Trump about Curry and doing a little something with that invitation?
Yeah, so obviously he heard the soundbite and went on Twitter and said, going to the White House is considered a great honor for a championship team. Steph Curry is hesitating, therefore invitation is withdrawn. And from there, Twitter was on fire. I mean, you had LeBron James tweet, "You bum." Steph Curry already said he isn't going, therefore ain't no invite. Going to the White House was a great honor until you showed up. And then Bradley Beal also subtweeted basically, said, "How are you going to withdraw an invite that someone already said they weren't attending?"
Oh my goodness.
So
now it's in party etiquette, invitation etiquette. But let's work off that LeBron tweet there, and he wanted to elaborate. And obviously, LeBron, a big voice in the community.
Yeah, and that's something. And as you get ready to play that clip, I wanted to say, like, it was great to see LeBron, especially given the fact that you said very outspoken about these kind of issues. So it was really great to see him follow up. But this was LeBron James responding to that. Take it away, Eliav.
This guy that we've put in charge has tried to divide us once again. It's even hitting more home for me now, even more, because he's now using sports as the platform to try to divide us. And we all know how much sports brings us together, how much passion it has, how much we love and care, and the friendships and everything that it creates. And for him to try to use this platform to divide us even more, it's not something I can stand for, and it's not something I can be quiet about.
I mean, it's really as simple as that. And then he went on to say, when my colleague, referring to Steph, is uninvited, and it's just, he really spelled it out pretty nicely. I mean, it's just,
he did.
The division is happening, like the opposite of what we need to happen at such a sensitive time in America in its history. We're going to look back on this. This is a very historical time.
It is.
With the natural disasters, with Charlestonville, and now with this.
Mm-hmm.
It's really sad right now.
It
is what it is.
No, I agree with you. When we look back on this now, and we, as people and as we teach our younger generation, especially to understand what's really going on in the world right now, we want to enlighten them and let them know, like, we have a leader who's courageous, who's willing to go to all ends to make this country as strong as it can. And we need a leader who does that. And it's cliche, but we need a leader who will lead. And we don't need a leader going on social media and essentially just coming across in a very just childish manner on many different occasions. And you guys heard the soundbite from President Trump. You heard what he said about NFL players, calling them SOBs. No wonder so many NFL players were locking arms yesterday in protest. No wonder the Pittsburgh Steelers weren't even on the field for the national anthem yesterday. No wonder their MLB players, Maxwell for the Oakland Athletics, the first MLB player to take a knee during the national anthem. Now, there is talk because the Pittsburgh Penguins of the NHL are going to the White House. They have openly said they are going to the White House, and that's been another dialogue of conversation is, are the Penguins doing the right thing? They're following tradition, and the Penguins did come out and say, we respect the Oval Office and the tradition that it withholds. So that's another subject for another day, but for the time being, this is a time in our country, Eliav, where we have to come together even more than we're already pretty tight-knit because of this already, in my opinion, Eliav. I think at this point, the tighter we get, the only more that we are going to grow as people and as a country, in my opinion.
Yeah. I mean, I'll say it again. From Charlottesville to the natural disasters and now to this, it's been a tougher time than ever to do that.
Yeah.
But that's why you have to do it even more, like you said. That's why you have to get there. And when you think about the NFL protests now with teams not even going out on the field, the Seahawks or the Titans didn't come out. When it comes to that, that's when it starts potentially affecting the game. And that's upsetting in its own right. But to round this up and go back to my original point, you can never say stick to sports again. You can't.
No.
And you couldn't. I mean, I don't think you could have said it before, but now there's no question that all of this is so important to understand that these things are intertwined.
They are.
Whether you like it or not, they are intertwined. We need to talk about them and hopefully one day come to a resolution of this.
I think we will. And you said stick to sports. I'm one of those people. I said it. One of the first things I said. We tune in to ESPN. We tune into Fox. People who listen to Blaze Radio, who listen to sports shows. There are many different sports shows on this station. Many sports shows across the world. that would prefer to tune in and hear sports. People won't turn into ESPN anymore because Jamel Hill tweeted about the president. Now, people have their reservations about that. I get it. But at the end of the day, we have to have these conversations, Eliav. And as much as sports fans, we don't like it, we have to. And I think that is the biggest thing to take away from this.
Yeah, I think you also need to embrace it, not just don't like it. You need to embrace it and learn to like it because this is the reality of it.
Yes. The Weston DeWitt Show with Eliav Gabay here on Blaze Radio, live on BlazeRadioOnline.com. Coming up next, we have a very, very special guest for you guys. We will get back to talking about sports. Mr. Greg Moore of AZCentral, sports columnist. He joined us, and he will be on the show next with Eliav Gabay and yours truly on Blaze Radio and BlazeRadioOnline.com. Don't go anywhere.
Welcome back to the Weston DeWitt Show with Eliav Gabay here on Blaze Radio. We've got a special guest on the line with us. He is the AZCentral sports columnist. He covers anything ranging from boxing to college, all the Valley sports, professional, and everything in between. Ladies and gentlemen, the one and only Greg Moore is on the line with us right now. Greg, welcome to Blaze Radio and the Weston DeWitt Show with Eliav Gabay. How you doing, sir?
Yo, doing great, man. Thank you for having me.
Of course. Thank you for being on. All right, so top news, we all know about it. ASU football pulls off the upset. They grinded it out against Oregon. They looked really hungry, in my opinion. Do you see this momentum potentially carrying on against Stanford, another solid Pac-12 opponent?
Yeah, that's a great question, man. My answer is going to be unsatisfying. Maybe not, but let me take you through it, right?
Okay.
We know that Arizona State came in with all sorts of questions about Todd Graham's job security. Hell, I raised a bunch of those questions myself after having a conversation with Michael Crow, after listening to Michael Crow and athletic director Ray Anderson speak earlier in the season, and after analyzing the team's record and statistics in the previous couple of seasons versus the expectations of the administration going into this year. But Todd Graham quieted all of that at least for 1 week. And frankly, he coached like a man who did not care what you thought of him. And I wrote this for AZ Central, and if you follow me on Twitter, it's at Writing Moore, WRITINGMOORE, Writing Moore. See what I did there? Anyway, if you check that out, you'll be able to see how I've laid this out. But entering the Oregon game, Arizona State had questions at each phase of the game. On defense, Arizona State third down conversion percentage was the worst in the nation. They were allowing opponents to convert 55% on third down. You can't win football games like that. Well, against Oregon on Saturday, I believe Oregon held them to 1 for 11 on third down and 0 for 2 on fourth down. That's a tremendous improvement, right? And they said that it was a focus all week long. On offense, the running attack was anemic at best. They were one of the worst schools in the nation, averaging just 2.5 yards per rush. Instead of going explicitly to the air, though, Graham said, hey, we're going to continue to run it. And they ran the ball effectively throughout the game. Now, if you look at the stat, I believe that because of all the tackles for loss, that the average yards per carry still was quite low. I want to say it was just 2.7%. But if you look at when they ran the ball and how they ran the ball, particularly DeMario Richard on the final possession, or on the go-ahead possession with about 6 minutes left in the fourth quarter, he carried the ball 3 straight times. I want to say he gained 8, 4, and 13 yards, and that opened up the slant, and that opened up an opportunity to kick that go-ahead field goal with 6 minutes left. And then on special teams, again, Todd Graham went for it like a man who just didn't care. He was like a gambler with his last stack of chips. He had zero cares to give, if you guys get what I'm saying there.
Oh, definitely.
What he ended up doing, he had an onside kick early in the first quarter at a time where nobody would have expected him to do it, and his team executed. So whether this translates to Stanford or not, I'm not really interested in that right now. What I am interested in, if I'm an Arizona State fan, is relaxing and feeling good about the second half against Texas Tech And the majority of the game against Oregon, the Oregon game wasn't without miscues. There were problems here and there. But that said, you feel good about the result and you feel good about the areas of improvement.
Hey, Greg, it's Weston DeWitt here. So let's talk about the Arizona Cardinals. So a big game upcoming here tonight against the Dallas Cowboys on Monday Night Football. What do you think is the biggest storyline coming into this game, and which Cardinals player in particular really needs to make a statement in this game?
Protest. To me, Arizona Cardinals, Dallas Cowboys, all right, whatever. It's the third week of the season. Somebody's going to win, somebody's going to lose, and you've still got plenty of time to recover from it. I want to know how the two teams in the NFL showcase game are going to react to the fallout started by President Donald Trump with a series of tweets that the NFL owners, or the NFL responded to with a statement. LeBron James from the NBA responded. Kobe Bryant, again from the NBA, responded. We had a statement come out from Frosty Rucker, the defensive lineman for the Arizona Cardinals, who's also the NFL Players Association team representative. Who else have we heard from on this? Kurt Warner we've heard from on this. So to me, right, it's got very little to do with football, and it's got everything to do with everything else except for football. Now, if you want to focus on football, fine. You're totally missing the point, but if you want to do that, then I guess you're going to want to pay attention to what the Cardinals offense can do when you've got an offensive line that was supposed to be anchored by DJ Humphries moving over to the left. Well, Humphries has been hurt. Mike Ipati was supposed to be a stalwart on that line. He also is dealing with an injury. The best running back in the NFL, David Johnson, out for likely the season. John Brown, who is the key to the team's deep passing attack, is not likely to play. If you want to look at football, and again, I couldn't imagine why you would with such much more important stuff happening surrounding this game, those would be the things I'd look at. But again, I wouldn't.
Let's transition to more of the NBA. You mentioning all this, everything going on with Donald Trump and now LeBron, and of course Steph voicing his opinion and Steve Kerr knowing his opinion, and now Donald Trump uninviting the Warriors to the White House. What does this mean for the NBA? And, when people say stick to politics, stick to sports, there's no such thing, because as we see, obviously they're very much intertwined. So when you see something like that happen, what does this mean for the country and kind of the relationship between sports and politics?
Well, I'm glad it's happening, right? So, Look, I used to cover politics. I used to write politics. I used to write about state government. I used to edit state government stories. I've been on both sides of the fence in my career is what I'm saying. I've been on the news side and I've been on the sports side. If you write a news story, people tend to come at it with a set of preconceived notions that are not likely to be challenged or changed by the information in the story, because people oftentimes know where they're going for the information that they want. But everybody comes for Cardinals news. Everybody comes for Suns news. And now you've got an opportunity to give people information that they might not have access to, right? Oftentimes people are allies and don't realize it. People might think that they're on opposite sides of a political spectrum, but the reality is that they just haven't had a conversation. And when you have that conversation, you go, well, no kidding. You like country music, and I like rap music, and you like classical music, and I like rock and roll, and I over here like polka, but damned if we don't all agree on this one piece, and damned if we're not all recognizing each other's humanity and finding a place where we can agree to disagree in a way that's civil and in a way that doesn't challenge somebody's ability just to think and live and be. So, yeah, and you want to say that sports and stick to sports, but it's never been that way, right? When Joe Louis beat Max over Hitler, was it not? When Jesse Owens ran in the Olympics, when the 1980 U.S. Olympic team boycotted the Moscow Olympics. And today, look, there are military members on the field. There are flags on the field. There are jet planes that fly overhead. Patriotism expressed in that way also is a political statement. So it's not neutral there is a positive statement going one way, and there's a positive statement going in another direction. Everyone is entitled to the expression of that opinion, I believe.
No, I completely agree with you with that one.
I'm not happy that the nation is in a place of division and that people are concerned about social justice and whether minority communities are subject to heavy-handed police tactics as laid out in Justice Department reports, as laid out in personal anecdotes, and as laid out in, say, body camera footage. And I'm not happy to know that the nation is still being rocked by protests over deaths of unarmed black men under dubious circumstances at times. I'm not happy about this. What I am happy about is that sports are becoming a place where people can have conversations about these things and at least set us up to begin to solve some of these problems. Because if you're not working to solve problems, then I don't know what you're doing. You got to work towards solving it, or else you're really going to a scary place.
Without dialogue, there will be no progression. It's as simple as that. That's
Totally
for sure.
agree.
Now let's talk about a little bit more of the sports side of basketball right now, because something huge did happen Saturday morning. Carmelo Anthony going to OKC, huge, makes them a super team now. Sam Presti is a baller. We've seen time and time again this offseason him pulling off just great trades with, of course, Paul George and now Carmelo Anthony. With this new super team now adding to the Rockets, the Timberwolves revamping this summer, and, of course, the Spurs still being the Spurs, who's Golden State's biggest challenge coming up in this next season?
Injuries.
Cool.
So I know you think the Carmelo move is a big deal, but if this were Twitter, I could give you a whole bunch of these, and you wouldn't be really happy with me right now. Look, the easiest thing in the NBA is to defend a team of guys who like the ISO. You throw the ball over here, they stop, they hold it, they dribble 15 times, there's 3 seconds left on the shot clock, and they put up a fadeaway jumper. You can defend that. You can stop that in the playoffs. There's nothing happening there. We've seen that with the LA Clippers in the past, right? With Chris Paul, he's a slow-ish point guard. You might love Chris Paul, and I actually like Chris Paul, his game, quite a bit. But the hardest thing to defend in the NBA, and the Spurs and the Warriors prove this, is a team that slings the ball around from one side to the other. You don't know where the shot's coming from, and when it goes up, it's going in because there's an open jumper and guys feel good about each other and they like to play together. That's the kind of thing you should be excited about. So if you've got 3 guys up in Oklahoma City who are known for ISO ball, they might have big names and they might be able to give you 30 on a given night, but they're not all 3 going to give you 30 when each one of them has to hold the rock for 15 seconds before they shoot it.
And you don't think they'll find a way to work together, like with Russell Westbrook understanding he doesn't need to do everything alone?
At what point have we ever seen Russell Westbrook show that he doesn't think he needs to do everything alone? I've never seen Russell Westbrook play in a way that leads me to believe that he's comfortable passing the ball and not touching it again, or that he's comfortable not getting the rock on a given possession. Russell Westbrook, I think, to be the Russell Westbrook that was league MVP, the Russell Westbrook that became a superstar, I think he needs to hold and dominate the ball. And I mean, I think that the 3 great players, and I think the 3 great players must be on some level really smart about basketball. And if they're really smart about basketball, they'll have to, at some point, find a way to figure it out. I'd like to think that that can happen, but I don't know where we've got evidence of that, particularly with these 3.
So let's translate from the court to the ring. So now you went and covered the Mayweather-McGregor fight. You also went and covered the Canelo-Gennady-Golovkin fight last week. So for me, as someone who's become a diehard boxing fan, I feel like both fights were really good for boxing. But I want to hone in on Canelo versus Triple G. Who did you have winning that fight? And if there is a rematch soon, which I'm sure we all anticipate, what are your early thoughts on that?
Triple G, I had Triple G winning. I want to say I had him winning 7 rounds, and then I had Canelo winning 3 rounds, and I had the first 2 rounds even. So I see somebody saying, oh, it was 7-5, Triple G, or I don't know. I even could entertain somebody saying it was 6-6. But can't understand where that scorecard came in with 8-2 in favor of Canelo.
Me neither.
And, that leaves opportunity for critics to say, wow, that's another gift-wrap decision for Canelo because he had a really favorable scorecard against Mayweather, though he lost that fight, and he had a really favorable scorecard, I want to say against, Aaron Rodgers, was that it?
Yeah.
And so, look, if you're skeptical, right, and you're looking for reasons to hate on it, those are the places that you would pick at. You would say, what is this judge looking at? But look, man, boxing is subjective, and it always has been so. Boxing is not football where you got points and, you know who won and lost. If Triple G chases Canelo around the ring, you could give that round to either fighter. You might say you really like the way that Triple G was aggressive and showed ring generalship. But you also might say that Canelo was a deft counterpuncher and displayed great defense and did exactly what he wanted to do by moving backwards and counterpunching. And therefore that was great ring generalship. So if you think it was good for boxing in as much as it stirs debate and we've got controversy and we've got a conversation, that's something I can get with. I can understand that. I think for casual fans who don't understand that these types of decisions are a part of the sport and always have been and likely always will be, they'll be frustrated. They'll say, well, what the hell was that? This reminds me of that time I went to my buddy's house to watch Tim Bradley and Manny Pacquiao, and I didn't understand that decision. Or the Jeff Horn-Pacquiao fight. I remember a lot of people thinking, hey, Pacquiao won that fight, what gives?
Oh, yeah.
So, yeah, if you want to say it was good for boxing, I can understand that. I'll give you another thing, though. It was a hell of a good fight. You take the judges away from it, and you're just a guy who watched or a woman who watched. Did you enjoy what you saw in that ring? Well, you had two guys at the peak of their profession, at the peak of their power, the peak of their popularity, get into the ring, which so often today in boxing does not happen. Hell, and that's always been the case. Floyd Mayweather and Manny Pacquiao faced a lot of criticism for taking years to make a fight that everybody thought should have been made years previous, but took Sugar Ray Leonard and Marvelous Marvin Hagler something like 5 or 7 years to finally get in the ring. And for old-timers, dudes such as myself and people even older than I am, they really saw a lot of parallels between Hagler and Triple G and Sugar Ray Leonard and Canelo in that Triple G and Hagler were the aficionados fighters. Sugar Ray Leonard and Canelo, they were the everyman's fighter. They were the mainstream fighter. And in this case, the popular guy, Sugar Ray, and Canelo, Saul Alvarez, Canelo, whose name means synthesis, another connection there, right? Canelo was a play on the Spanish word for cinnamon. And so you've got Sugar Ray and Cinnamon Saul.
That's good.
They are similar guys and got similarly gift-wrapped decisions according to many. And I mean, look, I think Triple G won that fight. I can understand it being a draw. I can understand it being called a close fight. I can't understand that one scorecard, but I had Triple G win it.
Last question here for you, Greg, and we really appreciate you taking time out of your day to talk to us. So your Twitter byline, it's very interesting because it says that Michael Jordan is not the GOAT. So if it's not him, sir, real quick, who is it?
Kareem Abdul-Jabbar.
Oh.
Yes.
It's not close.
Yes.
Oh, Eliav likes that.
Thank you. Agreed.
It's not close, right? Like, look, anybody who thinks Jordan is the GOAT probably also thinks Space Jam was a documentary.
Was that documentary? That's fantastic. No, but people don't realize, I mean, even though different positions, so it's tough to say, but, I mean, Kareem is just, because of his personality, has gone almost under the radar in some way in that conversation.
Well, you know what I think really is what it comes down to is the power of now and the power of the moment. I think the overwhelming majority of sports fans that I've been around are sports fans because of what they see on highlight shows and, sometimes sports radio or whatever, or even what they've heard their father and their uncles and their mom and their aunt, folks in their lives say about people. And so history kind of starts to fall away. But if you just stack up the accomplishments, right, look at points scored, you look at number of titles won. If you go back to their careers, Kareem, man, So Kareem played at UCLA, right? And back then they didn't let freshmen play. He was Lou Alcindor at the time. And so UCLA under John Wooden had the championship team that was just kicking everybody's tail left and right. And a reporter, this is the way the story goes, the reporter comes up to John Wooden. He says something to the effect of, aren't you worried about your team getting a big head? Don't you want them to face better competition? And John Wooden is like, my varsity squad is butt kicked. And he probably didn't say that because John Wooden was famously strict with his words. He never cursed. He was always very specific. It's a great story there. But these guys get whipped every day by the freshman team led by Lou Alcindor. So you imagine you go to practice every day and you get destroyed, and then the only time you actually win is when you play some other school. That's so how good Lou Alcindor was as a freshman in college. I think, and I'd have to look this up, I think he went through his college career and only lost 2 games. It might only have been 1 game in the 3 years that he was allowed to play varsity. And in those years, they had outlawed the dunk, so Kareem couldn't even dunk the ball. That's partly why the hook shot became so deft. He just had this touch because he kind of was forced to develop it. Listen, Kareem did it for, I want to say, 20 years. He's got all the statistics, all the accomplishments. The only area where Michael Jordan actually has a case to be better than Kareem is that, people like him more or people like his shoes more. He doesn't even have it in terms of movies because I thought Game of Death was better than Space Jam, and Bruce Lee fought Kareem Abdul-Jabbar fought Bruce Lee. And Bruce Lee had to cheat to beat Kareem in his own movie. Bruce Lee hit Kareem below the belt twice, and that's the only reason he won that fight.
I love that.
I've never heard that kind of argument before, but it's very, very interesting. Greg Moore, AZCentral sports columnist, we really appreciate you taking time out of your busy day to talk with us. Great insight from you as always. We'll be looking for your articles down the line. We'll talk to you again soon, okay?
Thanks, fellas. I really appreciate you taking time to talk to me. I really appreciate that. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. The one and only Greg Moore right here with Weston DeWitt and Eliav Gabay here on Blaze Radio and BlazeRadioOnline.com. Stick around. We're going to open up the phone lines in the next segment. Stay tuned, guys. You know what I think about when I hear this song, Eliav?
What's that?
Hitch.
Yes, me too. Me too. I'm so glad you say that.
The great Will Smith, the great Kevin James, Albert Brenneman. And he says, get out.
Never do that again.
Never. Just express myself. No.
Nope. You ain't got to make no pizza. They got food there.
Not like that, you're not. All right? Oh, my gosh. Thank you again to Greg Moore of AZCentral. Great conversation with him.
Oh, yeah, fantastic.
Really appreciated his comments about the president and how it was affecting sports. Great breakdown of the game tonight between the Arizona Cardinals and the Dallas Cowboys. 602-496-5156 is always the number to call up. We want to hear from you guys today. Once again, that's 602-496-5156. Before I get to the Cardinals, we get to the Cardinals and Cowboys breakdown, I did just get an email from the Arizona Diamondbacks. They announced that the wild card game has already been sold out. 1 hour after going on sale, the communications just emailed and said it's sold out 1 hour after going on sale.
That's what happens when you have a team worth watching.
Mm-hmm. Unbelievable.
That's what happens, and then and of course a huge game, no doubt, and Arizonans are recognizing it. So I'm happy for the city. I'm happy for the Diamondbacks. It's been a rough couple of years. So when the fact that I'm happy to be wrong. How about that?
Yeah, me too. I'm pleasantly wrong. I mean, we're going to get to the Diamondbacks and that whole thing in a little bit, but I was pleasantly surprised with it and everything. But it's great to see the city of Phoenix rejoicing over something like this. It's amazing.
Right, and also a quick update. We just got an ESPN notification that Isaiah Thomas could be back by the Christmas game versus the Warriors for the Cavaliers.
Okay.
So, yeah. By the way, media day for the NBA right now.
That's right.
Everyone's getting it going, getting their pictures, getting their photo ops in, so that's always fun.
And we shall get to the NBA next segment because something big happened over the weekend, and it pertains to Carmelo Anthony.
Just a little something.
In case anybody's been living under a rock. But let's dive into tonight's matchup between the Dallas Cowboys and the Arizona Cardinals. So the Cowboys come into tonight with a 1-1 record after getting shellacked by the Denver Broncos last week, and the Cardinals pulling out, some would say, a lucky win against the Indianapolis Colts, but
most would say.
When I look at this game, I mean, the question mark is going to be, for the rest of the season, every game for the Cardinals is going to be Carson Palmer. They're not going to have John Brown tonight. DJ Humphries is going to be out. And it really comes down to the arm and the strength that Carson Palmer is going to have, and can that offensive line block, even though the defensive line, for the Dallas Cowboys is relatively suspect, especially after last week. Are the Cardinals going to be able to run the ball effectively on that Cowboys defense? I think it's going to be a little bit of a struggle at first, but I also think that the Cowboys offense is going to put up some good numbers tonight, and Dak Prescott is going to do his thing. I think Zeke has a relatively normally average game by his standards.
No, Zeke is going to wake up. I think Zeke is going to have a huge game. I mean, especially he knows how that last game went for him.
Oh, yeah.
And he didn't forget that, all right? So he is going to make it a point to go off tonight. Harley, what to you is the X factor on either team here? Because both kind of need this win.
Oh, yeah.
Des Bryant.
Yeah,
I was thinking that
I've
too.
said it since last year. The dude, he just has to wake up, or Dallas should try to sell high on him, if he has a good game here or there, and maybe try to get some defense for him, because he hasn't produced the last 2 years for what they needed him to be.
Mm-hmm. The defense, especially last week, I mean, I'm very, very interested to see how this defense is going to come in and play against such a Cardinals offense is relatively high-powered, even without David Johnson. And the thing is that can the Cowboys...
not lately.
Not as of late, no. But relatively overall, Carson Palmer, when he gets his groove on, he can fling that football.
Yeah.
However, he hasn't been able to do that for the last year, essentially. And can the Cowboys rush the quarterback and get to that offensive line, which is relatively pedestrian as it is? I'm going to roll with the Cowboys to win this game. I think it's going to be a really close game tonight, but the Cowboys' offense is going to do just enough, and the defense is going to do just enough, and I think the Cowboys will escape with, let's say, a 3-point victory tonight.
I disagree with the space. I agree with the person, or the team, excuse me. I have the Cowboys, but it's not going to be that close.
Yeah.
I have them by at least 2 scores.
Carly, do you have the Cowboys, I'm interested in this, do you have the Cowboys winning by a single digits or double digits? How do you have them winning tonight?
I would say at least a touchdown is what I have tonight.
Yeah.
I think the offense just really clicks again tonight, and everything starts rolling smoothly.
But we'll see. It'll be interesting. No. It'll be fun to watch. All right. The Rams
Wow.
actually got a W with Aaron Donald on the field, which is fantastic for them. But it was a great game. It was a great game. No one thought that this would be a good game. I mean, as much as I would like to have believed that a 49ers-Rams matchup would be entertaining, you didn't actually know what's going to happen. But the 49ers came back against the Rams, and then it became a really close one that came down to some late-game dramatics and late-game heroics by Mr. Aaron Donald, who got a crucial sack.
Oh, yeah.
For to not allow the fourth down or third down conversion.
It easily was the best Thursday night game.
Ding, ding.
Easily the best Thursday night football game we've had in a long time. Look at the score, guys. It was 41-39, and Jared Goff looked good. 22 of 28 passing, a QBR of 92. And 3 touchdowns, no interceptions, and then there was a signing of Todd Gurley. Gurley showed up, 113 yards, 2 touchdowns, and he even had through the air a touchdown, 36 yards for Gurley, Watkins, Woods, both over 100 yards. What an overall incredible game by the Los Angeles Rams.
Yeah, no, it was very entertaining. But right now on the line, we have Daniel from Phoenix.
All right, Daniel in Phoenix, you're on the air with Weston DeWitt and Eliav Gabay. What's up, Daniel?
Hey, guys. Good to be on with you this lovely Monday morning. I, unfortunately, was not able to get a chance to listen to your conversation about the president's comments on the NFL. I just wanted to give my own perspective on that if I could get the chance.
Absolutely.
Well, here's how I see it. Politics and sports have been linked for years. And, obviously we know 70 years ago, Jackie Robinson, he broke the color barrier. Muhammad Ali, he refused to go to Vietnam. John Muhammad and Tommy Smith and John Carlos, they raised their fists
right
at the 1968 Mexico City Olympics. And Jackie Robinson, in his biography, wrote, "I know that I am a black man in a white man's world. When I hear the anthem, I cannot stand and put my hand over my heart and feel patriotic." He said that, Jackie Robinson. So,
wow.
When people talk about disrespecting the flag. It's not about that. It's about what that flag represents. The flag itself, it's a piece of cloth. What it represents is the ability to freely discuss what you think is right for America, and people have died to ensure you that right. Whether you disagree with what people have done with it or not, the flag is a symbol. What is important is what it represents.
Exactly. And the flag, I think the biggest problem the world over when Colin Kaepernick originally decided to start taking a knee during the national anthem was the fact that they felt like he was disrespecting the military. And he's adamantly stated on numerous occasions he was just bringing attention to police brutality in communities of color. And I think that's a very fair thing to do. And Daniel, I mentioned this in the opening segment. Wasn't it Martin Luther King who originally wanted nonviolence in this country when it came to protests?
It was absolutely.
That's exactly what's going on. That's exactly what's going on.
And people get mad, and then they tell him, oh, well, you're disrespecting the flag. That's not the right way to protest. Well, then what is the right way to protest? Because there's something wrong going on, something wrong that is driving people to the point where they feel the need to use their platform as athletes to protest. This is nothing new. I think it's really good that we're seeing this generation of athletes really is a lot more socially conscious than even the previous generation that was led by Michael Jordan, who famously said, Republicans buy shoes too, and for that reason he never really took political stances. And we're seeing with, stars like LeBron and Steph Curry and others, they stand up for what they believe in.
Yeah, no, incredible insight, Daniel. Incredible insight.
No, and Daniel, we appreciate your insight. Make sure you guys listen to his show. It's here on Blaze Radio Online. The man knows what he's talking about. Thank you so much for calling in, Daniel. Appreciate your insight.
Thanks for having me, guys.
Absolutely. Daniel in Phoenix, great caller right there. Moving on, let's talk about the Giants and the Eagles. The Giants beat they lost again. They did not beat. They lost. And the Eagles.
What is going on, man?
Oh, man,
the
Giants.
The O-line.
It's Eric Flowers and that running game. The running game's virtually non-existent, Eliav. What has happened to the New York Giants? What has happened? This is a franchise led by Eli Manning, a two-time Super Bowl champion. You have arguably one of the most talented receivers in the world in Odell Beckham Jr., a lethal 2-3 punch in Brandon Marshall and Sterling Shepard. Your defense revamped. What in the world has happened?
Well, the defense clearly hasn't revamped because it's not looking like it at all. I mean, they're as much as you'd like to say, they're revamped, they're a new look and everything, it's not working out. Something is not clicking with this. And also, when your coach throws your quarterback under the bus publicly, that's not positive at all. I understand, if you have something to say to your player, if you want to, light a fire under them, and in the locker room, by all means, go off, in my opinion. But when it comes to really saying that in public, that's not good for your locker room.
No, of course
you
not.
don't want to do that. Just like we saw, perfect example with the entire Bulls organization basically last year with their superstars voicing their opinions about other players in their locker room across the way from them to the media.
Mm-hmm.
That's not a good idea for your team. It never works out, so why do that? Mm-hmm. So I think the problem is deeper than just the numbers.
No, I agree with you. Completely agree. The Houston Texans almost beat the Patriots yesterday, and it was large part because Deshaun Watson looks good.
Can't touch him.
No,
you can't touch him because he's going to run all over you.
He is balling straight out. I'm so impressed with Deshaun Watson, and the reason why the Texans lost yesterday 33-36 to the Patriots was because the defense was supposed to show up. That's the benchmark of the Houston Texans, but it just didn't show up yesterday. And for good reason. I mean, you got a guy in Tom Brady who's the GOAT, arguably, and he threw for 378 yards, 5 touchdowns, a QBR of 86. And Brandon Cooks, 8 targets, 131 yards for 2 touchdowns. The Patriots we had this conversation a few weeks ago. Oh, the Patriots they're crumbling after the loss to the Chiefs. Is it time to blow up the Patriots? There's a perfect example of overreacting again. Tom Brady is as good as he continues to be his best at his age, and I can't see in any way. He's not declining at all, Eliav. Not in any way, shape, and form.
No. So when people say, okay, he has a year left, a couple years left, I can't put a number on it, man. I can't put a number on it anymore. He is just so efficient. He's so good. The only thing I'd say is injury for Father Time to come and catch him. But besides that, he's going to continue to be a monster. I don't think there's anything that's going to stop him.
The Green Bay Packers, led by Aaron Rodgers, came back and they beat the Bengals at home in a really exciting game in overtime, especially. So the overtime started. The Bengals did not score a touchdown. They had to punt. And then Aaron Rodgers finds his man Geronimo Allison for about a 70-yard gain or so, just juking Adam Pac-Man Jones out, going left and right. We were talking about when we saw it live, Eliav, whoop, 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 just going all over the place. And so that sets up Mason Crosby, game-winning field goal, and the Packers walk away with a 27-24 victory. Rodgers doing his thing again. What is he, Eliav?
Man.
A bad man right there.
Yes, he is. He's such a bad man. But Aaron Rodgers, 113 total yards passing, 3 touchdowns, 1 interception. Look, guys, the man is just a star. Talent-wise, he's the best quarterback I think we've ever seen in this game. And we can always have the debate, Brady, Rodgers. We cannot dispute 5 Super Bowl rings, guys. As much as those out there who want to debate Aaron Rodgers over Tom Brady, you have the right to the way you feel, but you cannot argue 5 Super Bowls over that. Aaron Rodgers, there's no way to do it. There just isn't. There just isn't.
All right, we got Ethan from Tempe.
Ethan in Tempe, you're on the air with Weston DeWitt and Eliav Gabay. What's up, Ethan?
How's it going, guys?
Man, good to have you on the program. What's on your mind?
Well, you guys were just talking about the Patriots' big win. How about that throw from Tom Brady to Brandon Cooks? Just one of the most beautiful throws I've seen in a long time from any quarterback, and it just shows how dominant Tom Brady is, especially in clutch time.
No, man, we were just talking about it. I mean, Tom Brady, he's going on 40-plus years of age. He's still playing like he's 25 almost. And this is a guy who we argued for a week consistently. Is this guy done? Is he washed up? Can he play anymore? He has so much evidence to prove everybody wrong. This guy is unbelievable. And those throws, he mentioned it to Brandon Cooks, the way he flings that football in the pocket, incredible.
It's beautiful.
When clutch time comes around, I don't think there's any question on anybody's mind anymore.
No, exactly. And we have the debate all the time of like who's the better quarterback, Rodgers or Brady? Who do you want to start your team with? But at the end of the day,
it doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter. 5 Super Bowls, you can't dispute it, Ethan. You can't.
You just can't. He's definitely the GOAT now. He's put his name etched in stone forever in NFL history, and Tom Brady's the best of the best. But you look on the other side at a young Houston Texans team and a rookie quarterback in Deshaun Watson. Some people talking about glimpses of Michael Vick in him. What do you guys think about that?
I mean, Deshaun Watson, he's here to stay. That's what I can tell you right now.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, last week we were speculating, and this week it's locked in. And this guy is here to stay. There's no doubt. He is a talent and a talent for the future.
Yeah, this guy's completed 61% of his passes. A great, great future that Deshaun Watson has in Houston. Ethan, we appreciate you taking time in your day to call us, man. Thank you, Ethan.
Thank you. Appreciate it, guys.
Absolutely.
Keep doing your thing.
Absolutely. So, Arizona State, they pulled off themselves an upset on Saturday.
That's right.
And they beat Oregon, and they beat them good. They beat them 37-35 in a great game played by Manny Wilkins. All around great team effort by Arizona State. Eliav, you were at the game. What did you think of the game, man?
I was as surprised as most people. Definitely looking around, was like, oh, what? Okay, wow, because the defense the whole team really looked so hungry, but the defense was on a mission this Saturday. They were on top of every play. They as much as it was spotty at times, generally, against an Oregon rush attack like they do have, man, was that impressive. And on the other side of things, Manny Wilkins clicking, absolutely. 347 yards, 0 interceptions still.
Still no interceptions. That's what amazes me.
Ballin' again. Demario Richard, Caleb Balaj teaming up again. 64 yards for Richard, 47 for Balaj. And then N'Keal Harry is that dude.
Yeah.
He is that guy. Keep feeding the beast. N'Keal Harry, 170 yards, 1 TD. Again, whenever you need a play, you find N'Keal. He delivers. Mm-hmm. If there's a man-on-man coverage, give it to him. If it's 1v1, give it to him. Jalen Harvey, no slouch, 133 yards for him. I mean, we saw ASU go through the air way more than the ground, which is something that people don't really expect. And they used the ground as more of a tactic to free up the receivers, which is something that ASU hasn't really done a lot in the past.
And I want to give credit to Todd Graham here, pulling that onside kick in the second quarter.
Oh, yeah, he took some risky
pulling
business.
A rabbit out of his hat and pulling that off when nobody expected it. I mean, they were up. Nobody expected them to do that. And it worked perfectly. There wasn't an Oregon Duck within 5 yards of that ball.
And credit to Brandon Ruiz and Graham trusting Brandon Ruiz, the freshman, to pull that off. And on top of that, making the game-winning field goal, ice in his veins right there, and looking like a young Zane, if I may.
That's good right there.
40 as his first 40-plus field goal, and he knocks it down for the win. So you got to give the freshman the credit he deserves.
And the defense played well, too. Christian Sam, 11 total tackles. DJ Calhoun, 8 tackles. A lot of the question was, Karan Crump not going to play? Who's going to replace him? How are they going to fill that void? But a tremendously well-played football game by Arizona State. They will take on Stanford next week. And we got a man to my left here, Harley Urut, will be on that call. So that's going to be an exciting time. Make sure you guys listen to that on BlazeRadioOnline.com. Florida State lost again to NC State, 27-21. Man, the fact that this is a really sad situation for the Florida State Seminoles. I mean, they lost their quarterback at the start of the year in the first game, DeAndre Francois, against Alabama. Such high expectations for Florida State. What a disappointment for Florida State. Oklahoma, they beat Baylor 49-41. Baylor was giving Baker Mayfield the business in that crowd. And Baker Mayfield said something to the effect of, "Who's your daddy?" but in the pregame. And the crowd was just giving him such hard business for it. But Baker Mayfield, being Baker Mayfield, backs it up, 283 yards passing, 3 touchdowns, a QBR of 90. Oklahoma, and by the way, 342 total yards rushing as a team for Oklahoma. Instantly, they are easily national championship contenders. Easily. And last but not least, Penn State. Great win by Penn State, 21-19 on the last play of the game. But, man, I got to tell you something right now. Penn State, that was one of the scariest situations I've seen Penn State in a long time. You could not lose that game, and you could not lose that game to Iowa. But at the end of the day, man, they pulled it out. I'm a huge believer in Penn State. I think they're going to do great things this year.
Stop being a bonehead.
It's time for Weston's Bonehead of the Week. We're going to head out to Washington, D.C. for this week's Bonehead of the Week. And we're going to take it a play that was made by Mr. Jayson Werth of the Washington Nationals. Now, this has been a very consistent theme here.
You love your baseball in these Boneheads of the Week.
This is just now this one's funny. This one's actually very funny because when you see a fly ball coming at you, it's really, you got to have good eyesight and everything, and I'm sure every baseball player has good eyesight, especially if you're an outfielder, because you got to look up.
Eyes.
Exactly. So the ball was coming up, a routine fly ball for Jayson Werth, and Jayson Werth has not been the most productive Nationals player since he signed that lucrative contract. He's contributed on some occasions, but the ball came, and it was it looked like he had a routine fly ball. He's like, I got it. Turns out it was hit to the warning track, and he didn't even know where the ball was. Had his head up. The ball was 10 feet behind him. He didn't even know where the frickin' ball was. Jayson Werth, man, that's funny. That is a funny play. But at the same time, how do you miss a fly ball by that much distance? You kidding me? If you're a professional outfielder, you can't be making that kind of play. I get it. Yeah, the sun, I get it. But at the same time, man, that far away from a fly ball, oh, boy. Oh, boy. What else is there to say? Jayson Werth is this week's Bonehead of the Week. The Weston DeWitt Show with Eliav Gabay here on Blaze Radio and streaming live on BlazeRadioOnline.com. Coming up next, Carmelo Anthony. He's an Oklahoma City Thunder. We got a big 3 again, Eliav. Stay tuned. We're going to talk about that and more basketball. You're listening to the Weston DeWitt Show with Eliav Gabay here on Blaze Radio and streaming live on BlazeRadioOnline.com. Do not go anywhere. Yes. Louder than a lion. Beautiful.
Right, there you go.
Yep, there's the singing part for you, Eliav. I'll stop. That make you happy?
No, you got yours. You got yours in. I didn't say anything.
The Weston DeWitt Show with Eliav Gabay here on Blaze Radio and streaming live on BlazeRadioOnline.com. Thank you so much for our callers, Daniel and Ethan. Great insight from both those guys. We also thank, again, Greg Moore from AZCentral for joining the program. Great insight from him as always. Let's dive into the National Basketball Association because it's coming up. There's media days today. And there was a trade that happened on Saturday night, and it involved the New York Knicks and the Oklahoma City Thunder. And it involved one Carmelo Anthony. He's on the move. Finally, after months and months of speculation, he said to the Oklahoma City Thunder, the Thunder will send center Enes Kanter and Doug McDermott and a 2018 second-round pick from the Chicago Bulls to the Knicks. Anthony is 33 years old. He's going to waive his no-trade clause and his $8.1 million trade kicker to accommodate the deal, which a league source told ESPN, reading off an article from Adrian Wojnarowski, the great insider at ESPN.
Woj.
So when I look at this trade, Eliav, this adds a big three for the Oklahoma City Thunder because you got Russell Westbrook at the point. Now you got Paul George at the 3. Carmelo Anthony looks like he's going to play the 4 maybe. Steven Adams will play the center position.
4, yeah.
And Andre Roberson right now is the starting shooting guard. And we're going to get to in a few minutes who I think would be a good fit at that shooting guard position because somebody bought out yesterday. And we will discuss that name in a few minutes. But when I look at this trade, this easily puts Oklahoma City right at the top with Golden State. The question is, can they, or is it the Rockets, or the Spurs? Man, it's way too hard right now for me to decide who it's going to be. But my first thought was seeing that big three of Paul George, Russell Westbrook, and Carmelo Anthony, plus the mean lean machine down in the paint that is Steven Adams. I think that this is a tremendous, obviously it's a tremendous acquisition. You just acquired a superstar.
Yeah, no.
But at the end of the day, Oklahoma City, they're contenders, man, right away. They're contenders.
They're contenders for sure, but at the same time, meshing is going to be very important with this team, especially this team, because as Greg Moore mentioned, these 3 guys love the ball in their hands. Now, it remains to be seen if Russell Westbrook can go and adjust to not having no one on his team, as we saw last season. But Roberson can go back to just focusing on defense. Steven Adams doesn't have to shoot another ball in his life.
That's a good
probably.
point by That's a good point by Roberson. I didn't think about that.
They can go back to just playing their roles when you have guys like Melo, Paul George, and Russ. But I think everyone understands, or they better understand, that Russ is the guy. He is the main dude on that team, the number 1, and everyone goes after him. Everyone needs to play off of him. When whatever he does, but it's up to him at the same time to get everyone involved.
Yes.
Melo, he can hit those spot-up threes. He can go to work when he needs to go to work, but I need to see out of him the ability to move the ball along with Paul George.
That's going to be really important.
And Russell Westbrook. Now, Paul George, I'm a little less worried about. I think he knows where he's at, even though I know there was the quote where I'm going for the MVP that he said. Yeah. At the same time, I still think that he'll still play the role. And I spoke with Troy Tauscher about this, also WWE Weekly host on Blaze Radio. He said great players find ways to make it work, and I agree with that to a certain extent. I think with this team, they have the ability to, and it should be nice. I think they'll be top 5 in the West.
Oh, of course,
but not more than that. Top 4 max. I don't think they'll be top 3.
Look, I mean, when we look at the Oklahoma City Thunder, Carmelo Anthony can average 25 in his sleep, and I think that
he won't average 25.
The question,
not with this team.
Oh, not with this team, no, because he's not the main guy anymore.
He needs to understand that he's third fiddle. Not only is not the main guy, he is
not
the
anymore,
third.
No.
He's third.
Yeah.
That's going to be very interesting for me to see how he reacts to that, because there's no question Paul George is the second best player and Russell Westbrook's number 1. So that is the main goal. If he can accept that and play in that role, then I could be totally wrong. They could definitely be top 3. They could find themselves, but I don't know if it'll happen at least soon enough for them to be anything more than top 4.
I also question the Oklahoma City bench because Patrick Patterson is their backup number 4 backup 4.
Sweet.
Kyle
Kyle
Singler is the backup at the 3.
Pretty
Raymond
solid.
Felton is the backup at the point. And
he's
Dakari
a little bit
Johnson,
overweight, but he's solid anyway.
Dakari Johnson's the backup centerman. So the bench is a little bit of a question mark for me. But this acquisition, man, the biggest question is not the bench, but Eliav said it. The biggest question is, can Melo mesh? and accept the fact that he's not the superstar of the team. Can he do that? We'll have to wait and see.
Well, now another super team may be forming, or DWade could just hop on another one because he has reached a buyout. Actually lost $8 million in reaching that buyout, but it was worth it for him. I promise you that
of course.
much. Because being on that Bulls roster and being in that organization at this point has no flavor, no taste to it at this point in his career.
It's a waste of time.
Absolutely. So, where's he going to go? There are the few top options in teams like the Cavaliers, the Miami Heat, which awkward, and then the Spurs, which you can almost never go wrong going to them, and then the Thunder are still there. By the way, Sam Presti for president. Wow. Wow. How has he pulled this off? With Paul George and what they got for him, the Indiana Pacers had so much buyer's remorse that they went and tried to blame the Lakers for it. That's how bad he got them on that trade. That's how good of a trade that was for OKC. And now with the Melo trade, he finds stars who are unhappy and exploits that. Exploits that. He has done an amazing job. Wow, GM of the year already.
Oh, yeah. And by the way, he's caught in a lot of heat because of the fact he traded James Harden just because he didn't want to pay him a couple extra $1 million.
Yeah, no, that was a mistake.
That was a big three between Durant, Harden, and Westbrook, and that's something that Thunder fans, I feel, like really never, I mean, they got over it, obviously, but that's something that was hanging over in the back of their mind. Like, look, James Harden is a second MVP candidate, and then Kevin Durant is the best player on the Warriors, and he just won a championship. So I think in the back of their minds, the Thunder fans are like, dang, we could have had that big three, but now you got Sam Presti who listened to the fan base and listen, we had this big three. You need somebody to back up, not just have Russell Westbrook be the sole guy. He needs a little help.
Oh, yeah, definitely. And Russell Westbrook still hasn't re-signed.
And he listened to them. And Sam Presti for president, that's your saying. I shouldn't be saying that. That's your saying.
No, but honestly, I think that he's doing what's necessary. He respects Russell Westbrook enough to see, listen, man, I'm dying out here. I just got you an MVP for this organization. I'm doing my best. You got to help me out. Yeah. And boom, he brings in help. He brings in the reinforcements. But anyway, back to DWade. Where do you see him going?
My first reaction was Cleveland, just because the relationship that he has with LeBron James, and that would be a big, I mean, it wouldn't be like a, oh my goodness, fill in the shoes, much need for the Cavaliers, because J.R. Smith and Iman Shumpert, they're viable options at the 2 position, but when you're talking about Dwayne Wade, there's no comparison here.
Well, according to ESPN, he's not even top 100, so I don't know.
And then somebody needs to be fired at ESPN for that. But Dwayne Wade, the Cavs was my first mindset, but when I looked at the depth chart for the Oklahoma City Thunder, Eliav, you stick Dwayne Wade in there with those 3 guys. You want to talk about chopping it up? You got it right there. You got the veteran extraordinaire that is Dwayne Wade with that bunch out there in Oklahoma City. I think if the Thunder get Dwayne Wade, I think they have a good chance to beat the Warriors.
Oh my God! Okay, I don't know about that. I don't think anyone has a chance if that Warriors team is healthy. A chance. I don't think anyone will do it if that Warriors team is full strength. No, even now, I'll tell you right now, if that Warriors team is full strength, I don't think anyone can beat them. No matter what other roster is out there, as of right now, out of all the rosters that right now, even let's say D-Wade goes to Oklahoma City, I still don't think if that team is at full strength that anyone can beat them. And it's as simple as that. It's as tough as that to accept for all the teams out there, but it really comes down to that. That team is just so high powered. So they flow together so well. Dreamlike. But anyway, I digress.
And I want to say real quick before we move on, I know the flow between the Warriors is unbelievable. And we need to see how the flow is with the Oklahoma City Thunder. We don't know how these big 3 are going to mesh, but I need to see how they flow, and I feel like if they flow well, they may have a chance. That's what I want to clarify that, just making sure.
All right, so back to D-Wade. I don't see him going to Miami. I know there's talks of that. Him and Pat Riley are not on the same page. It was so awkward the way he left. Pat Riley did not handle that correctly, so I don't think there's any, not any way, but any reason really for him to go there. They're not going to win anyway. You might as well either go to the Cavs. Spurs will be really interesting. I mean, that would be, again, you can never go wrong with going to the Spurs, and everyone wants to play for Greg Popovich. So we'll see with that. And then, of course, OKC, like you said, a solid option. All right, Game 1 of the WNBA Finals happened, and boy, was it a fun one.
And
once again.
Dude, the Sparks were up 32-11 at the end of the first quarter.
Yeah.
They were kicking their butts.
At home.
It was
home.
unfair.
Sorry, at Lynx's home.
It was unfair what the Sparks, it was almost criminal what the Sparks were doing to the Lynx. But the Lynx being the Lynx and the great team that they are.
Team, yeah,
and Maya Moore being Maya Moore, Sylvia Fowles being Sylvia Fowles, and 27 points for Moore, 22 for Fowles. The backbones of that Lynx team led them on a comeback. They outscored the Sparks in the second quarter 22-11. But that ending, Eliav, can we talk about that ending?
Wow. And Simone Augustus, of course, doing her work down low as always. But wow. I mean, listen, everyone was in foul trouble, first of all. Everyone was in foul trouble throughout the game.
Yeah.
But let's talk about the end there. Okay. That was exciting. Again, people are not watching these games, and that's disappointing because me and you were watching it. We were yelling, going crazy, excited because this was primetime basketball. The scores going back and forth. A team who just rallied all the way back from down, what was it, 26 points at one point. 26 points at one point. And they came all the way back. But the Sparks, with their veteran leadership, took care of business. But it wasn't the veterans that pulled it off.
And that person was Chelsea Gray.
Chelsea Gray.
Woo! Ice. Yeah, to steal your quote, ice in her veins, man.
Complete showing that she has
that step
the
back.
clutch gene.
Oh.
The clutch gene. She to back huge step back jumpers. Same spot, elbow money. I mean, Chelsea Gray going to work. 27 points, a new career high for her, and Candace Parker still doing work, doing a little bit of everything for the Sparks. 15 points, 12 rebounds, 4 assists, 3 steals. Getting that done. Nneka Ogwumike, 11 points, 6 rebounds. A little bit lesser of a game for her. But listen, when you have Chelsea Gray going to work, you got to get out of the way and let her do her thing.
And by the way, when we previewed this last week and then the weeks before, Chelsea Gray's name didn't really come up that often. We were talking about Candace Parker. We were talking about Nneka Ogwumike. When we throw in Chelsea Gray into this conversation, throwing her name into that mix and how she played in Game 1 with the combination of Elena Beard, this is why I think the Sparks will win again. Because you have that dark horse, per se, in Chelsea Gray, who comes up with these clutch shots like this. This is unbelievable for the Sparks.
Yeah, no, she's a skill guard. She's so quick. But more the reason we didn't really bring her up because when you think about these moments, you think about the veterans coming out.
Oh, yeah.
But she's writing her own history right now. She is writing this NBA Finals, and opening it up like that is beautiful. But the reason I'm going with the Sparks still is when you look at their roster, when you just look at this box score, each starter scored at least 10 points.
Yeah.
Got 10 points from Beard, 15 points from Parker, 11 from Ogwumike. Odyssey Sims got herself 16 points, got in the mix, 27 points from Gray. Now, when you look at the other side, while Lindsay Whalen doesn't do her job in scoring, she does her job in distributing and being one of the best facilitators in the game. You have Simone Augustus, 19, Sylvia Fowles, 22, MVP, of course, 22 and 13 she got, and then 27 from Maya Moore. But then when you look at the rest of the team, 2 points. Again, Lindsay, 5 points, but that's not really her job. And then you got 3 points and 6 points off the bench. It's just tough when you don't have the stacked, deep roster. When even though the Sparks were in foul trouble, they stayed in it because of the team they have.
Yeah.
So it's going to be interesting moving forward, but I'm excited as anyone to see this because it is just, again, I'm going to keep preaching it. I sound like a broken record. You got to watch the WNBA games. You got to watch them because this was prime time basketball. It's as simple as that.
And shout out to Ryan Ruocco, a tremendous call by him on ABC. I mean, that guy, we interviewed him last year. That guy's future is so bright. Shout out to him for pulling off an incredible game.
Eliav may be tough at times. What are you doing? Stop wasting time. But he does have a soft side too. Come on. Get ready for Eliav's soft spot of the week.
What an intro.
So we promised the soundbite.
Wow.
We got the intro, you got the soundbite. All right, my soft spot is coming from Kent Bazemore, small forward shooting guard. Small forward shooting guard for the Atlanta Hawks. He had a Uno tournament for charity, and a little 10-year-old girl won it. And there's a video out there on Bleacher Report's Twitter and Facebook's. So adorable. She wins it. Kent Bazemore picks her up, celebrates. I mean, it's how many cute things there is about this.
Yeah.
Kent Bazemore running a awesome charity, just a wonderful tournament. It's an innocent little Uno game. Anybody can participate, and it's fun that way. And then 10-year-old Joel participates in general, and then she ends up winning. Good for her. It's good for Kent Bazemore and for that organization. It's a cute soft spot for the week. It's as simple as that.
Man, I just watched the video right in front of me. That was so cute. Picked her up twice. Just the innocence in that thing is just, oh my goodness. If it doesn't warm your heart, I don't know what does. Eliav soft spot of the week. That's a great intro. That's probably oh wow, I can't get over that intro.
Which one's better, Harley's or mine? It's a tough movement. No. He's got the notifications. I don't know.
Oh, tweet in the show. Which one do you think is better? Call in the show. We want to know what other people think.
Running a poll.
I can't. That's the poll question. Actually, we just came up with a good poll. Oh man, I can't answer that question. I just can't. The Weston DeWitt Show with Eliav Gabay here on Blaze Radio and streaming live on BlazeRadioOnline.com. Come on back with us. We're going to talk about the fact that the Diamondbacks are in the playoffs. The Dodgers clinched the West, and we'll get you caught up on the world of baseball. And we will talk about some other things as well, including Harley's Hot Topics and social media. Stay tuned. You're listening to the Weston DeWitt Show with Eliav Gabay here on Blaze Radio and streaming live on BlazeRadioOnline.com.
I don't like it. I love it, love it, love it. Uh-oh.
Your turn.
So good it hurts.
I don't want it.
Oh. Unbelievable. Weston,
here we go.
Weston DeWitt
Here
Show.
we go.
I can't find the words, I just go.
All right, we had that drop in there.
Yeah, that's perfect. The Weston DeWitt Show with Eliav Gabay. Thank you for starting your Monday off on a high note with us, as you always do, and get your week off on the right note. We're going to close the show out. Let's talk about a little baseball, get you caught up on the world of baseball. The Arizona Diamondbacks are back in the playoffs for the first time since 2011. And look, I was happily wrong. The Diamondbacks have a great team surrounding them, and it starts with Torey Lovullo. An incredible job managing this team. Great game managers in Chris Iannetta, Chris Herman, and Jeff Mathis behind the plate, calling a game, which is, I'm more and more convinced as this year has gone on, how important that catcher position is. You have the ability to call a game, you have to have it.
Yeah.
And they have it.
And I'll just say this because we've already spoken about these Diamondbacks. They're impressive. They've found a groove that's just awesome. In that wild card, Greinke's going to pitch. We'll see how it goes for them. No matter if they play honestly, I'm going to put this out there right now. If they play the Brewers or the Rockies, it doesn't matter. They're winning that game. Period.
I'm not
in
so
my
sure.
opinion.
No, I respect your opinion. I just think that, look, this is a team that's been to the playoffs 2002, 2007, 2011. And those 3 years, the first year, 2002, they got swept by the Cardinals in the NLDS. Then in 2007, they got smacked around by the Colorado Rockies. Remember that Rocktober in 2007? They got smoked around by the Rockies. And then they lost the NLDS series to the Brewers. So this team, just to me, has a tendency to fall on its face when you need them to perform the most. I'll be happily wrong, but I just don't see it. And I think whoever they play.
I have the D-backs. He doesn't. We'll see what happens on that one.
Absolutely.
Dodgers clinch the NL West. Well,
surprising.
Nothing's new. 5 years in a row. ...
There's
not much to say about this besides the fact that, all right, now it's game time, gentlemen.
Now it matters. Nothing in the regular season, nothing else matters. It's postseason.
It's a whole new season.
A running repetition with the Dodgers. 2008, 2009, they made the playoffs. Missed it from 2010 to 2012. They missed it, and then they're back. Fifth straight year, they've been back to the playoffs. Now, one more thing before Harley's Hot Topics and social media. Brad Ausmus is now the former manager of the Detroit Tigers. He was the 38th manager in the history of the Detroit Tigers when he succeeded Jim Leyland. And look, Jim Leyland, a record of 303 and 303, a 500 record. This guy just never really was equipped to be the Tigers manager. He never meshed. He didn't seem to mesh well with the players. And I think that the Tigers need to find a manager who's going to mesh well with their players. I don't know who that is. I don't have names in front of me. I don't know. But the Tigers are now in a rebuilding mode, and they have to find a manager who's willing to teach the kids and give them a good guiding process. That, more than anything, is what the Detroit Tigers need.
everything trending on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and more. Get ready for Harley's hot topics in social media. All right, so we had all the hard-hitting stuff in the beginning from Twitter, so we're going to kind of lighten it up here at the end.
Yeah.
Chad Johnson had probably my favorite tweet of the week, Chad Ocho Cinco. If Donald Trump was a real businessman, he would fight Kim Jong-un on pay-per-view.
Oh, wow.
Yo, that'd make a lot of money, I'll tell you that much.
Of course, Enes Kanter was traded in the Carmelo Anthony trade to the Knicks.
Yeah.
CJ McCollum, great Twitter follow, says Kanter released a statement about his love for OKC and the organization. 4 days later, he got traded. Stay woke. It's a business.
True.
Yeah, exactly.
True.
Ohio State quarterback Joe Burrow quoted a tweet from Bleacher Report saying that Ohio State, Texas, and Oklahoma are all valued at over $1 billion, and said our team is worth $1.5 billion, but it wouldn't be fair for other students if we get a free hamburger. So kind of sticking to the whole college athletes should get paid thing. Joel Embiid sniped back about Kevin Durant's fake accounts on various social media platforms and said Joel Embiid is better than MJ ever was. #facts, #birder Twitter. And he included Kevin Durant's fake Instagram tag in there. And then we have Tony Romo. Yeah, lastly we have Tony Romo, a picture of him in the broadcast booth saying, I think I like this broadcasting thing. And so far, I think a lot of people like him as a broadcaster as well.
Dude, he has been killing it.
Look,
no joke.
Yeah, he's done well. I got to give him credit. I have to give him credit. He's done a good job.
I mean, he is literally, when you talk about being in the NFL for that long and using it, he's calling plays before it's fantastic. It's so entertaining because now you're just waiting to hear what he says.
Yeah,
you're literally
exactly.
waiting for him, which is just, it's fantastic.
Unbelievable.
Gotta love it. I mean, it's nice. I'm happy for him because so many people were already giving him jokes like Tony Romo out 2 to 3 weeks with a sore throat or something, all that stuff. But good for him, straight up.
He's done a great job. And by the way, your boy Derek Fisher from the Los Angeles Lakers, he did pretty well in his debut with Dancing with the Stars.
I saw that. Good on him. Yeah. He can move.
And I'm a huge fan of the show. He needs to work on his footwork and a little bit of his technique. But then at the end of the day, look, this is just how I talk with Dancing with the Stars, okay? I'm a huge fan.
He loves it.
I don't think he'll win, but it's going to be a good season. I'm interested to see where he goes. The Weston DeWitt Show with Eliav Gabay here on Blaze Radio and streaming live on BlazeRadioOnline.com. We thank you so much for starting your week off on a high note here with us. Thank you for the call-ins, Ethan and Tempe, Daniel and Phoenix. We appreciate the love and support everywhere. Till next time, God is good. We are too blessed to be stressed. We'll see you next week. We'll be talking NFL and a whole bunch of other stuff. Till then, we're out. See ya.
They tell me the bomb explosive. For my drinking, smoking, always fat, more than one. Chrome rims riding on, chronic in your system, let me know. The bomb.